Good morning, I'm Gillian Bowen. I recently joined the team here at CommSec, so this morning I'd like to welcome you to the morning report for Monday the 27th of April. Now, while it's a long weekend for New South Wales, the ACT and WA following Anzac Day on Saturday, the ASX is open today, so the team and I are on deck bringing you our usual wrap and analysis of market action. But if you are wondering where James Gruber is, he is enjoying a day off. So let's get into it. So when markets closed in the US on Friday afternoon, so Saturday morning Australian time, there were hopes of peace talks, but Donald Trump has posted on social media that he's cancelled a trip by 2 US envoys to Pakistan, claiming it involved too much travel and expense. Iran's foreign minister had, though, earlier left Islamabad. So another setback in peace talks. The Strait of Hormuz remains blocked. It normally carries 1/5 of global oil and liquefied natural gas shipments through it. So what's on the cards for the Australian share market when it opens? When the ASX futures were last trading, they were down 3 points or 0.03%. On Friday, the ASX 200 closed down just 6.9 points to 8,786.5. It's lost 1.79% for the last 5 days, but it's virtually unchanged year to date. So let's check in on commodities and currencies. So it was a volatile session on Friday for oil prices. Traders were weighing supply disruptions against the potential restart of peace talks between the US and Iran. Brent crude futures settled at $105.33 a barrel, rising 26 cents or about 0.3%. For the week, Brent gained about 16% and WTI rose nearly 13%. Copper futures edged down on Friday on worries about continued closures of the Strait of Hormuz. Aluminium futures also dropped. Gold advanced on Friday, but lingering inflation concerns and the uncertain state of the US-Iran war kept markets on edge. Gold futures rising 0.4% to $4,740.90 an ounce. So if we have a look at the currencies, you can see there the Aussie dollar was last trading up 0.35% to 71.53 US cents. Okay, so the US futures have fallen at the open. The S&P 500 futures dropped 0.3%. The Nasdaq futures declined by the same amount. So it's some initial reaction there after the stalled peace talks over the weekend. Let's step back now to Friday's close. Here are the headlines. Friday's session on the Dow Jones Index closed 0.16% lower, and for the week overall, it lost 0.4%. The S&P 500 closed up 0.8% and gained 0.6% for the week. And the Nasdaq rallied 1.6% on Friday. The weekly gain there is 1.5%. If we take a closer look at what happened there, reporting season is still underway and will be this week too. And of course, ongoing uncertainty from the US-Iran war has been weighing on investors' minds, not only about the status of the fragile ceasefire, which had an impact at the start of last week, but also about whether another round of peace talks would occur. And we now know they are off for now. First quarter reporting season has hit full stride, with 139 of the companies in the S&P 500 having reported. Of those, 81% have beaten earnings estimates. The S&P 500 and the Nasdaq have now risen 4 weeks in a row. Tech shares, buoyed by strong results from Intel, helped to lift the Nasdaq. On Intel, it surged 23.65% to close at a record $82.57 and was the best performer on the benchmark S&P index, following a better than expected revenue forecast for the second quarter. This surge takes Intel past its dot-com era peak from the year 2000. Fellow chip makers AMD and ARM both shot higher. Mega cap Nvidia climbed 4.32% and also closed at a record as it neared the $5 trillion market valuation again. As for the underperforming sectors for the week, healthcare down 3.1%, financials, which were 1.9% lower, and real estate, which dropped 1.5%. Moving on to US Treasury yields, they dipped on hopes that US-Iran peace talks could take place over the weekend, bolstering confidence that the war could be close to ending. The yield on benchmark US 10-year notes fell 1.7 basis points to 4.31%. The 2-year note yield, which typically moves in step with interest rate expectations for the Federal Reserve, fell 4.5 basis points to 3.78%. To the European share markets, the main indexes recorded weekly losses as investors assessed tentative signs of renewed US-Iran peace talks. There were also worries about the disruption of energy supplies by the Middle East conflict and a warning from the Bank of England that global stocks could face pressure. The continent-wide FTSE Euro First 300 index finished down 0.51%, while the UK FTSE 100 was 0.8% lower. Higher oil prices pressured airline shares. Heavyweight banks Barclays and HSBC fell 0.9% and 1.3% respectively. Pharma giant AstraZeneca slipped 3.7% and peer GSK dropped 2.7%. Tech shares gained 1%, with Computacenter surging 14.5% after the technology and services provider said it would beat annual profit forecasts. It's now time for the watch list, and there's lots on this week. In Australia, the big one is inflation stats out on Wednesday. CBA economists are forecasting a rise of 4.6% year on year for the month of March. The CPI figures will have some say into what happens to interest rates, with the RBA tipped to raise rates next week. We also have quarterly earnings updates from Woodside on Wednesday, Woolies on Thursday, as well as half-year results from ANZ on Friday. In the US, it's a huge week in earnings, with the likes of Visa and Coca-Cola on Tuesday, the tech giants of Amazon, Alphabet, Meta and Microsoft on Wednesday, and Apple on Thursday, US time, of course. The US Federal Reserve is also making its call on interest rates on Wednesday, when it's tipped to hold rates steady. The Senate committee vote to advance Kevin Warsh's nomination as Federal Reserve Chair will take place in the morning of April 29 US time. This is according to the committee's website. And this follows a development on Friday where the Department of Justice dropped its investigation of current Fed Reserve Chairman Jeremy Powell. A reminder, Powell's term as Fed Chair expires on May 15. Well, that's it for today. For further developments on the local trading session, please tune in to the CommSec Market Update podcast this afternoon and, of course, the Market Close video. Have a great day.